Hey everybody, you're tuned in to 91.8 The Fan, and this is Kana, and you're in my corner. And starting off the show today is actually someone else in my corner, and that would be Eric Sherman of Bang Zoom. Thank you for joining the show.
It's my pleasure. Thank you
I'm,
for
act-
having me.
I'm actually really interested to talk with you because I know Bang Zoom through your adventures in voice acting and many of the events you have at Anime Expo.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thanks. Yeah, we really like to be a big part of Expo. It's a great convention.
And now I'm wondering, you're actually the CEO. How did you find yourself in that position? How did it all come together?
Yeah, CEO sounds like such a big title, I guess, but we're a pretty small company, and my wife and I actually started it out of our house about 16 years ago. At this point, we were working out of our living room, and little by little, we started as we got busier and busier. We found that we had about 5 studios in Burbank working at any one time with masters and tapes and materials all over the place, and we thought it'd be better to get our own studio, which we did. And after that, things just started to really take off, and we grew. We grew quite a bit for us, but we're still a small company. It's really kind of like a family vibe here.
I can actually really relate to that because even though 91.8 The Fan is a small fish, I look at everybody on the team like, my family, my brother, my sister, because they annoy me all the time.
Definitely, we're definitely, there's some dysfunction like any family has. We all get along, most of the time, and there are definitely fights that happen on a daily basis, and sometimes dad or mom have to step in.
Exactly. And now I'm curious, you guys have gotten really big in my opinion today because you do license, you do dub over very popular anime, such as, Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya and
Mhm.
Gurren Lagann, I believe.
Yep.
And, how do you go about deciding which ones that you dub, or is it more they come to you? How does the process work?
Yeah, well, what you just said there is exactly what happens. They come to us. And that's a really great point that you brought up. You just mentioned, you kind of flipped and you said, about licensing
Hmm.
titles. We don't license anything, and we have never done that. We're we're just a studio. We're a dubbing studio, so I want to make that clear. And we work with everybody in the anime industry. We've at one time or another we've worked with almost every distributor or publisher out there. So we're kind of very central, like a sort of a central point of the industry as it's worked out because we do work with everybody. So people come to us and bring us projects that they need localized, which means to dub into different languages. And so our specialty became localizing it for a Western audience. And yeah, you mentioned Haruhi, which we're working on the second season of finally right now. I just got out of a recording session that I was supervising right before I got on with you.
Oh, very awesome.
Yeah, we're excited to be back on that show.
And now I'm a little bit confused, or actually, I'm a little bit wondering. You've got to see all of the business in a sense because you've worked with everybody, as you said. Has that given you sort of an insight to the current state of anime?
Absolutely, it really has. For good and bad, I think. But yeah, I get to. I really have gotten to see a lot and learn a lot about the industry over the years, and been just become friends with everybody in it. And that's, I don't know if I want to get into this right off the bat, but that's one of the reasons why I wrote this stuff I wrote the other day that has so many people talking about.
Well, no, I understand, and you've also gotten to see the anime boom, as everybody calls it, as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
How was that when it was getting really big and really popular?
Well, yeah, it was definitely a boom, and it was absolutely crazy for a while. It had a lot of people concerned, including myself, about just how some of the decisions that were being made and some of the titles that were being brought out, it seemed like for a while there were people thinking that, hey, if it's anime at all, any kind of anime, let's sell it or let's distribute it, let's give it the widest audience possible. And I think that wasn't the greatest idea. I think that being a little more selective and kind of not releasing quite as much as they did would have probably been a lot better, more healthy for the industry. There's just so much being produced in Japan at that time, and then a lot of titles that weren't really so great being distributed around the world.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I think it was maybe about 3 years ago, each season was getting something like 60, 90 something anime, and then now you look at the seasons today and it's more like 20.
Yeah. Well, there were some really long seasons, really long series, but it was even just, I think, the number of series and OVAs and just all kinds of stuff coming out, good and bad, and a lot of, obviously, there's only so much cream that's going to be there. A lot of it was kind of derivative stuff, and not as creative or maybe not as high quality, I think.
And now, you guys have a studio, I believe, in Burbank, California?
Yeah, we're in Burbank, California, and we've been in this one facility for about 7 years.
Oh, very nice. So you've gotten to sort of know your neighbors.
Yeah, it's a really nice little area.
And now,
lots of cool things to do. When you think of Burbank, you don't necessarily think of, it's not quite as exciting as Hollywood, but it's actually a lot of cool little things around here.
hopefully the traffic's a little bit better than Hollywood.
Definitely, the parking is much easier in Burbank than it is in Hollywood.
And I'm curious, you probably have many connections with the voice actors that you've gotten to dub these throughout the years. I'm wondering, do you call in voice actors that you know, or do you just call out everybody for an audition or to see who's right for a part?
Both. We do both. We're really, really big on finding new talent, new voices. We're really into that, and we're one of the only studios that does it very aggressively because we really believe in it, and we like to give opportunities to new people. We found a lot of great people through Anime Expo, through some events we do there. We found people at workshops that we hold, and just doing open auditions from time to time. So we really try to do that a lot. At the same time, of course, there are people that we know what they can do, we know their abilities, and they just bring so much talent into the booth, and so we're going to bring those people back in for auditions. But every show we do, we hold auditions for it. We don't just cast it, almost always. There are exceptions. But we usually don't just say, okay, this person will play this role and this person will play this role and just go. We usually hold lots of auditions first.
Oh, I can understand that. And I actually am very aware of AX Idol. I know a lot of hopeful listeners out there like, I want that dream.
Yeah, well, it is definitely a dream. It's really a great job and it's a lot of fun. But I think that people know by now that it's not. First of all, it's not that easy, and also it's not as easy as you would think to earn a living at it. Even if you kind of break in to the world of voice acting, a lot of people have to keep day jobs, so to speak, for quite a long time until they establish themselves. And you usually have to do other things other than just, you certainly can't just do anime, especially right now where there's so much less of it.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. And by talking to many of the voice actors I have, it's a little bit sad where I'm like, do you have anything coming up? Not really.
Yeah, if it was 3 years ago, their books would be probably full of lots of sessions. So that was the plus, when during the anime boom for voice actors, they could actually earn a decent living and not have to do other things, really. But now when there's so little to go around, you definitely, if you want to just be a voice actor, you have to be ready to do, audiobooks and promos and radio spots and just whatever you can. And even that's, it's going to be hard. No job is easy to get as an actor. So you probably need to do, waiter jobs and things like that too.
Oh, definitely. And over here on 91.8 The Fan, we're going to take a short break, but keep it tuned because we will be back with Eric. So stay tuned to your favorite station. Everything you want, nothing you don't.
What's up? This is Kyle Hebert, an anime and video game voice actor and host of a geeky news podcast you can find at thebigballbroadcast.com. But that's not why I'm here. I wanted to tell you about a service I'm offering for beginner-level voice actors. With a private voice acting consultation held online, I'll direct and critique your script reading and performance in a mock audition or recording environment. Point out your strengths and weaknesses. I'll give you customized advice and give you a detailed analysis of your demo or any recorded samples. I've got over a decade's worth of experience in radio and voiceover, so I know what I'm talking about. Now, I'm not some quick backdoor into the industry or a replacement for taking classes or workshops, but if you want an honest evaluation, some script workouts, information, and guidance, a private voice acting consultation session is just for you. More info is on my website at kylehebert.com. KYLEHEBERT.
Hey everybody, you're tuned in to 91.8 The Fan. This is still Kana's Korner, and I still have Eric Sherman with me, which is awesome. And if you're not listening and you haven't been paying attention, he is CEO of Bang Zoom Entertainment. And now,
I haven't been paying attention. I like that.
Well, I know they're listening. I know there are people out there listening. I see your viewership counts. Now, obviously, we were going to talk about this, the article that you wrote, Anime Rest in Peace, but I'm curious, what made you say, I need to write this article today? Was it just sort of looking over business numbers, or was it just looking at the state of things? What sort of inspired you to put it up on that day, or write it at all?
That is the best question ever because it was Sunday afternoon. And it was actually a nice weekend, a really nice weekend. I was just spending with my family. I had some downtime, and I just went on and wrote the thing. I don't think it actually went live until Monday morning on the blog, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah. So what inspired me? What motivated me to just write it at that moment? I can't say. I don't even know. I wasn't even feeling like I wasn't thinking about it, dwelling on it. It wasn't keeping me up at night over the weekend. I just sat down at my desk and just kind of spat it out. It's definitely a result of a lot of thinking, a lot of talking, a lot of seeing what's going on, and about 2 years worth of kind of information. It wasn't something that was whimsical or capricious at all, but it just why did it come out when it came out? I just felt like it's now or never, if not now, when, because things really are that dire in the anime industry right now.
And I'm curious, you mentioned all the other companies that have sort of fallen, which I can't think of a more graceful way to say it. When those actually happened, what were you sitting and thinking?
Well, we saw things happen over the course of a couple of years from where we are as our clients started to really show signs of hurting, of needing to lower budgets and trying all kinds of different things to stay alive. So we saw the writing on the wall way a long time ago, way before. We were worried, and at that time, as a business, my first obligation is to my family. My second obligation is to my business and the people who are like my family that work here. And I knew, what are they going to do if they put everything into Bang Zoom. They, work way above and beyond, and they go way above and beyond, and they work really hard. And I see them all as, owners. They own this company too. So I had this obligation. So we started to think, what else can we get into other than anime? Unfortunately, what else can we start doing? And one of the great things we're doing now at Bang Zoom, are video games. We really enjoy it. And there's a lot. The video game industry is still pretty healthy, so we're doing more and more of that, and that's really kept us alive here. We started to diversify a couple of years ago. Frankly, if we hadn't, I wouldn't be talking to you right now because we wouldn't. There's just not enough anime going around.
Right, I can understand that. There is one comment that you made in the article that essentially, I'm paraphrasing, but Bang Zoom will not be doing anime by the end of, or by this time next year. Will you guys be healthy by that time next year, despite not doing anime?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up too. That's something I want to clarify. I'm not saying that we're going to choose to stop doing anime. We'll continue doing anime as long as anime is being distributed and being localized here. We will keep doing it and never stop. I was prophesizing that if things continue the way they are going right now, then we won't be doing it by this time next year. It's just a fact. We will still be healthy. I mean, we'll still be around. We've changed, our business model considerably. We've been doing, like I said, we're diversifying. We're doing all kinds of things. We're producing our own shows, doing video games, as I mentioned, as well as original animation, and all kinds of really cool things. There's lots of things you can do rather than just curl up in a ball and say, "Oh, life sucks and everything's bad," and woe is me. I mean, that's just not my style, so that we're not doing that by any means. But yeah, please don't get me wrong. We'll continue to do anime as long as it's around, and I hope it does stay around.
I do too, believe me. I'm curious though. A lot of people commented very negatively, and I think we talked about this during the break. We thought it was a lot of the internet being anonymous and being trolls and all that fun stuff, but how did you respond when you saw so much backlash to what you had written in the article?
Yeah, I definitely was surprised by the amount of backlash. I would say that 90% of the responses to what I wrote have been negative, and a lot of them really passionately so, even hurtful things that people said where they seemed like they just didn't care about all the people who have spent their lives working on anime, whether or not they would lose their jobs, and they just seemed kind of callous about that. People even insulting me, saying things like I hope you die, and it really that bad. I'm just a guy working and kind of putting my thoughts out there. So it was a shock. It really was. I had no idea that it would have that much backlash.
Oh, definitely. I can see why you would look at your computer and see all that and be like, abada?
Pretty much. I do feel, I want to say this because I know that some of what I wrote was kind of misunderstood, and so I want to say this really clearly, that I was not attacking fan subbers. Believe it or not, I wasn't trying to attack anybody. Although I definitely did criticize people who are stealing. But I really don't have an issue with fan subbing. I've always thought that people who do fan subbing, now it's a very shade of gray, and yes, it's not necessarily legal, but fan subbing, people who do it for the most part have been very respectful of the industry, and in a way I see it as sort of a symbiotic relationship. I've never seen it really hurt in general hurt anything. So I was not attacking or criticizing fan subbing. I was talking about something something very simple. It's just simply bootlegging and illegally downloading stuff. That's all.
Like when I was talking to our CEO over here, Matthew, the listeners know him as Sandy, basically he was like, I've only heard of people pirating stuff that's subtitled, but I've seen people pirate things that are dubbed, and I would think that would be the one that would really hurt you guys specifically.
Well, of course, yeah, that hurts us, but it just hurts the industry overall. That's the stuff I'm talking about. It's if people in general, too, once something is dubbed and released here, like Haruhi that we talked about a little while ago, which is a big one. Once that's out there, then people don't really circulate the fan subs so much. There's not really any need for it. And even if they did, it doesn't. I mean, it's just not going to really eat into the company's revenue so much. It's the stuff that they put out there that's they're selling for the DVDs, for example, that they're selling of Haruhi that get ripped and then put up and shared peer to peer. With Haruhi, I think that I don't remember the exact number of DVDs they sold, but the people who watched it download, illegally was over 1 million. There were over 1 million people. And if only 10% of those people actually paid for it, then Kadokawa, which shut down their offices here last year, wouldn't have had to do that. And Bandai wouldn't have had to lay off 90% of their staff. Believe me, that's what happened. I mean, it's a direct result. And Kadokawa is now really hurting. It's a direct result. The dubs actually fuel the anime industry, I think, much more than people realize.
I believe so too, because a lot of the comments were dubbing will die, but not Japanese anime. Can you sort of explain a little bit how the dubbing relates to funding anything in Japan?
Well, yeah. I mean, as anime started to get more and more popular, it started to get more expensive to produce it. There's more competition. There's just more need to go to raise the bar every time and to increase the quality. And when you increase in quality, you're also spending more time, and that means things just cost more. And they started to rely on more than just the Japanese economy. They're relying on a global economy, and a huge, huge, huge part of that is the U.S. market. So if that goes away, and right now, dubs outsell, well, now it doesn't really matter, but when you could separate them, dubs are outselling subs 10 to 1. So there's a much bigger market. It's more mainstream market. And that's where you want it to go. You want it to be healthy. You don't want it to go back to what it was, in the 70s or 80s when you couldn't really find it anywhere, and you just found a copy of it at your corner store and shared it with your friends. You want it to be out there and let the creators be able to create more and more of it. But really, I think what scared me the most about people's reaction is that that's almost what people, where they're bringing it is back. It's going to go back to sort of the dark ages in a way.
It's scary, actually, when I think about it, because, I did a little bit of research, and I know that Japan is also in an economic slump right now, like the U.S. is.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there are studies out there that show in the next 50 to 100 years, if their population continues to decrease, there won't be any Japanese. I also know there's the Tokyo Lily ban, and now they're regulating yaoi, which is other stories as well. But it seems like they're being hurt over there, and I would assume that they are looking for support by the licensing, that they get paid over in the U.S. and whatnot, and so that's what I related it all back to.
Yeah, they're definitely looking for the support from the U.S. and Europe and the main markets in the world. They have to look outside of Japan and stuff like that. Like with yaoi, I mean, they're going to need another place where they can widely release it. It's got a growing fan base, obviously, here in the U.S. and there's a place for it. And if they're going to impose sanctions on it or restrictions on it, I guess I should say, in Japan, then they need other places they can sell it.
Right, exactly. And I'm wondering, are there any measures that you guys are personally attempting to do, to fight either piracy or to get people to buy your product a little bit more? Is there anything you guys can do that you've thought about?
Well, those are good issues. I want to say again that we don't really, Bang Zoom doesn't have any product. We don't actually, distribute products, so we don't have it per se. It's not our stuff to sell. But as far as piracy is concerned, my part is what I'm doing right now. I'm talking to you, and I'm speaking out about it. that's really what all I can do at this point. I just want to help to educate people, let people realize that it does have an effect, that it is harming the very thing that they love so much, even though they may feel that I'm wrong and that that's not true. I'm in it. I'm here. I live it, and I'm just, hopefully they can have faith that I know a little bit about what I'm talking about.
Well, I can understand too, because through the years we've seen that anime interest keeps growing because conventions keep growing. So there's more people interested than ever, but it's amazing to me that nobody's buying anything. That's the scary part.
Yeah, it is scary. And going back to talking about that, as far as DVD and Region 1 and anime prices were just way too expensive, this is all really important stuff to talk about, and it's important stuff to look at, and where things are heading now and where things are as far as how you can distribute, going digital and going online and changing business models that people are talking about. All of that is all great stuff to talk about, and all, if we think about it enough, solutions are going to come out of this. It's all reasonable. There are reasons for it and the way things happened the way they did and the way the pricing structure was. There are valid reasons, but it doesn't, things are going to change. Change is inevitable, and change is good. So the more we talk about it, the better it is.
Well, when you mentioned the pricing, in the two main points that I forgot to go over is pricing of a volume, which a lot of people think is very expensive, and the fact that we don't get it immediately. But from what I know, in Japan, I think a single disc can be anywhere from like $60 to $90. And I believe that this is what I've heard, so you can correct me. I believe that they take so long on the licensing so people from Japan don't import it from you guys. So they kind of make a profit.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's the thing. Japan sometimes does really dumb stuff like that, where they try to protect their profit margin to the point where it hurts them. And I'm just talking in gross generalizations right now. You have to understand. I'm kind of being a little tongue-in-cheek here, but they're doing things that did hurt. Some of those practices have come back to hurt them, such as holding back some releases and making it take longer than it should, I think. But and the pricing is so much more expensive in Japan, just because they can charge that much, and the pricing in Japan is much more. Anything costs more in Japan, especially nowadays. Right now, with the exchange rate. But it's what was I saying? It's just really. It's not just that. It also takes a lot longer to come out with a product here, because there's just first of all, there's contracts that have to be worked out. So if something is going to come out in Japan, a series will be released. First, there's, a sale has to be made to the U.S., and then a contract has to be made, which can take months, for the lawyers to work things out. And then there's the dubbing process, which is an overnight. That takes quite a while, and subtitling, the translation, all of that, packaging, coming up with a new design, all that kind of stuff. By the time you get it out, replicated, and get it out to the market, there's just going to be a lot of time, right? It's inevitable that there's going to be that delay. So maybe that's something and I know they've been working on decreasing that window of time. They really have been working on that lately, and that'll probably improve with internet releases. So that's one issue. Just the time and the price, I think, is something that needs to be looked at very closely.
And now I'm wondering, is there anything else you want to say to our listeners out there?
Well, I just want to say that I guess to keep watching anime and getting your friends to watch it and pay for it, or watch it through legitimate sources when you're watching it for free, but there are ads, so that, on when Funimation streams it and things on Crunchyroll, stuff like that, those are all legitimate. I also want to say that if you're, buying and paying for your anime, but some of it you're not because you can't get it yet and you're waiting for it, that's totally understandable. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as you're supporting the anime industry. You shouldn't feel that I was criticizing you or attacking you. with my piece there. I know that talking to some people at Bondi, they have two shows that they're coming out with this year, and if they don't sell, that could be that. That's probably going to be it. So hopefully they will
Right.
be able to get those shows out there, and the anime fandom will support them. I hope that anime is around for a long time and that it's can continue to grow and be a very vibrant, creative industry.
Well, we do too, and I have to thank you for talking about this this actual, situation that happened, because we were all curious.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. And I know we had planned to do this interview way back before I surprised you with my little article that came out. But so I'm glad it just worked out this way and we got to talk today.
I am too, and for everybody out there, that was Eric Sherman, and we are going to go back to a short break, but make sure to stay tuned to 91.8 The Fan. Everything you want, nothing you don't.